Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And I didn't think I was going to be able to come on and do a live about Sarah. Because sorry, just let me take this off so that you can make some people, for some reason, they like to see my face. I don't know why. But yeah, I've this news that's just come out a couple of hours ago in the Sarah Sharif trial that we've been following. We've been waiting with bated breath, haven't we, for the verdict. Um, the jury seems to have been out forever, and then the jurors were ill, and one thing and another. Anyway, we have the verdicts in today of, what, how can I, gosh, you don't know where to start with this case. Most of you will have been following it with me. We've been following the case of Sarah Sharif since the day that it started, really. Little Sarah, 10 years old, was found deceased in her own home, in her bunk bed, in her little pajamas. She'd suffered at least 2 years of abuse, and severe abuse, beat with a cricket bat, tied up, left in her own waist in nappies, tied to the chair, bitten, burnt with an iron. There wasn't much that poor little Sarah had not suffered over, as I say, at least 2 years, as far as could be established. And anyway, the abuse just went too far. Who knows what caused that to happen? But one day, her abusers, which was her own father and her stepmother, imagine, it's bad enough when children sort of get bad things happen to children, when it's their own father, flesh and blood, doing it, and her stepmother, who to all intents and purposes was serving as her mother, that did it. And her uncle, although he's not been found guilty of murder, has been found guilty of allowing the death of a child, because he lived there while all this was going on. It's thought that it was probably him that jet washed this little girl's body before they, because she was covered in her own waste, because she'd been left in nappies. It's thought that her uncle did that. He's been lucky to get away with murder, I think, because he's been found guilty of not preventing the death of a child, and I suppose that is all that he could be found guilty of, because couldn't be established that he'd actually caused any harm to Sarah, physical harm. So anyway, this is what happened. They went too far with the abuse. Who knows the exact circumstances? We've heard what they both had to say, but they're both Sarah's father, Irfan, and her stepmother, Baynash, are those sort of people that when they're lying, if their lips are moving. Everything they've said is lies. They've changed their stories. First of all, Irfan said it was him, the father, took responsibility. Then he blamed it on the stepmother. Then he changed again and said it was his responsibility, the stepmother blaming everything on him. But I think the key thing that probably the reason why she was found guilty as well is the bite marks on Sarah, because there were bite marks on Sarah, on her thighs, in between her legs, that could not be established who those bite marks were from. And both Irfan and the uncle, Faisal, let's just have a look at them. If I've still got, I might not still have a picture here, yeah. So on this picture, we've got Irfan on the left, we've got Baynash, the stepmother, in the middle, and Faisal, the uncle, on the right. And although both Irfan and Faisal, they voluntarily gave up their dental impressions, and it was found that it wasn't either of them two that caused the bite marks between Sarah's legs. But Baynash refused to give her dental impressions, which really surprised me, because I didn't think you could refuse. How could you refuse? If you were being sort of investigated like that. How could you refuse to give your dental impressions? Anyway, she did. So, but that spoke volumes in itself, isn't it? You know, she refused to give her dental impressions, and I think that's what's contributed towards her guilty verdict, because she has been, her and her fan are both guilty of murder, and all three of them are guilty of preventing, failing to prevent the death of a child. So let's just get their face off there and have a look at Sara, of course. Now, I just want to warn you, as I'm going to go through, so I didn't think I was going to be able to come on and do this live because I had classes, but luckily, and it sounds awful, it's not that I don't enjoy my job as a Spanish teacher, but I had a cancellation, which has meant I've got a little hour here in between. I've got more classes later, but I've got an hour where I wanted to talk about this. Because we've been waiting for this result for so long. But I want to give you a little warning, because of course, whenever the trial finishes, there's going to be other details probably that come out. We're going to see there's some new photos of Sara that have come out. Look at this photo of her when she was a baby. I may get emotional. I was emotional when I saw the verdicts. It's just like a culmination. So this is little Sara, 10 years old, and her mum is Polish, and unfortunately for Sara, and probably unfortunately for her mum as well, her mum, Olga, for whatever reason, was denied custody, not only of Sara, but her older brother. She's got an older brother who, at the time of this happening, I think he was 13 or something. There's a lot of questions as to why he never said anything, or was he abused as well? There's other children in this relationship, not with the relationship with Olga, but the relationship with Baynash. But they were taken off to Pakistan, weren't they? So it makes you wonder, were they abused as well, but maybe just not to the same extent as Sara. So this is Sara's mum, Olga, who had to identify Sara and said that she could hardly recognise her. Her face was that swollen from the beatings that she's had. So as I say, some warnings here, trigger warnings. It's not very nice what you're going to hear about what happened to Sara. So just be advised of that. Anyway, Olga did not get custody, unfortunately, and then she did get rights of visitation, but I don't know what Olga's circumstances are, but for some unknown reason, she did. As time went on, she stopped visiting Sara and the boy. I think Irfan probably had a lot to do with that. Irfan, a very controlling man, maybe made it difficult for her. And Olga, unfortunately, maybe she just wasn't strong enough, or whatever was going on in her life at the time, did not make an effort to see Sara and see that she was all right. So she bears a little bit of responsibility as well, as do the social services, who we're going to see in a minute, were aware of Sara for a long, long time. So I really feel that Sara, she has just been let down by everybody she could possibly be let down by. It starts with obviously her father, her stepmother, her mother, her uncle, her siblings, even, her brother who was older. I mean, you can't, I'm not blaming it on them, but no, everybody's got a part to play in this. Social services, the teachers, everybody seemed to know that something was going on, but nobody removed Sara from this household. Surely just going into the house, they would have seen, found evidence of abuse or whatever, because that's what they found after she was dead. They found lots of evidence of abuse. So we can see on these pictures Sara from a baby, but she such a little sweetheart. She's smiling on nearly every photo. And then towards the end of her life, they started making her wear the hijab, which she never had to wear in the early years of her life, because nobody in that family wears a hijab. None of the girls wear it, or women wear a hijab, including Baynash. And But then she started wearing a hijab to cover up bruises, it's thought. So once her bruises started becoming, and the evidence of her abuse started becoming evident, she was forced to dress in a hijab. And then she was taken out of school because her stepmother said she was being bullied at school. Oh my God. Bullied at school because apparently somebody pulled a hijab or something. God, if that's the worst thing that ever happened to her, if only that was the worst thing that ever happened to her, that someone pulled her hijab off. You know, all the bullying was going on at home. It wasn't going on at school. She was just it's incredible abuse. And at the same time, Sarah was writing letters and journals saying how fabulous her family was and how they were spreading love and how she loved her dad and she loved her stepmom, Princess Baynash. You know, this is what abused children do. They just don't see, or don't, maybe they just don't understand how they're being abused, or maybe they do it because they are so scared. I don't know, or they're trying to make, trying to make their abusers love them more. You know, Sara was always saying what a fabulous family she had and how her family spread love, etc. But now that we know that actually that was the furthest thing that was going on in that household, was the spreading of love. So anyway, I'm going to say hello to you all now. Most of you have been with me through the beginning, right from when we first reported on this case. Because, of course, then what they did, Baynash and Irfan and Faisal, the uncle, and all the other children went off to Pakistan, didn't they? Then Irfan phoned the police, told them that Sara was dead there in the house. He'd left her deceased there in the house. Said he'd beat her up legally, but too much. And he'd left the key under the doormat and he would be coming back to face the music. So he obviously went to Pakistan to take the children out of the way, the other children, in case they could testify against him. And also, I think, because he was hoping that he would get sort of sanctuary there in Pakistan, but it turned out that didn't happen because the police made life so much more difficult for his family and Baynash's family in Pakistan, that the family sort of virtually said to him, we're not covering up for you, we're not hiding you or whatever, you've got to go back and face the music. So they came back and faced the music, but the children, the other children, are still there. And they were arrested as soon as they hit the tarmac at Gatwick. They were arrested. And we've sort of seen that video of them being arrested. We've seen quite a few videos now that this, well, I say it's finished. Not quite finished because we've got to wait for sentencing. The sentencing will be next week. And once we have the sentencing and the whole case is finished, I will do like a summary video of everything. So we've seen quite a bit of justice this year as far as the true crime world is concerned. And as you know, as of course, justice, finding these people guilty doesn't bring Sara back, but it does feel good all the same that they haven't got away with it, doesn't it? So I'm just going to say hello to everyone and then we'll have a look. Hi, David. It's great. It's good, isn't it, David? Justice. Hi, Angel. Hi, Lorna. Day of Reckoning. That's right. Hi, Yvonne. It's so nice when it does come because sometimes it doesn't come, does it? But anyway. Exactly, Angel. Yeah, people turning up on your doorstep if you don't pay your TV license. But, oh, that's all right. Just abuse your child with impunity. It's terrible, isn't it? But anyway, and hello to everyone watching at home and hello to anyone who's watching on catch up. So let's have a look at the details of this verdict. I think we're going to be looking at Sky News, who I think have done a good, what's the word, a summary, if you like. They've, we've been waiting so long for this verdict, and now it's come. It seemed to come all of a sudden. So let's go. Where are we going? We'll go down to, so we've been following the trial. We'll start. I think they go into details. There's some photos here you're going to see of Sarah, which are heartbreaking. But anyway, we'll start at the beginning. So they've got a timeline of what happened to her. I think we know what happened to her. Let's just read through that, actually. What happened to Sarah Sharif? Just months before her death, Sara was taken out of school in April 2023. Her friend told Sky News it was around this time Sarah had gone to school covered in bruises. The same month, Father Irfan Sharif and stepmother Bainash Batul decided to homeschool Sarah. Correspondent Sabda Chowdhury explains what happened to the 10-year-old before her murder and Bainash and Batul's attempt to flee the country. So let's have a look.
Killed my daughter. I killed my daughter.
Sara's death was an incident.
The body of 10-year-old Sara Sharif was discovered here at the family home in Woking last summer. Prosecutors say she suffered a campaign of abuse. But what happened? Sara's parents, Irfan and Olga Sharif, split up in 2014. Sharif alleges his ex-wife had abused Sara and bitten another child. That same year, Sara goes into foster care, and shortly after, her dad gets custody. Also in 2014, Sharif meets...
So she went into foster care, but then shortly after he was given custody. Now, I understand why it's obviously better if children can go with biological parents if possible, but for God's sake, not in cases like this, surely. I mean, what is it? It just makes you speechless, doesn't it? Just makes you speechless that these children can be let down so badly, not only by their own families, but by social services.
Now wife Bainash Batul, and they go on to have a family. In years 4 and 5, Sara is taken out of school, once in June 2022 and again in April 2023, just months before her death. Her friend Ava says around this time, Sara came to school covered in bruises.
She told me she fell off her bike, but I just knew that's not something that you would fall off your bike.
That same month, Sharif and Batul decide to homeschool Sara, which their neighbour thought was odd.
Sara had been bullied for wearing a hijab and they'd removed her from the school. I thought that was very alienating for the child. And Bainash said, well, she's making friends in the mosque.
Prosecutors say Sara was homeschooled and covered up to hide her injuries. On the 8th of August, a child sends a WhatsApp message to a friend labelled urgent, saying Sara had just passed away. That same evening, Sara's stepmom starts inquiring about flights to Pakistan.
Travel dates, please.
I'll leave as possible.
And return?
Single.
On August 9th, the family, including Sara's dad, stepmom, uncle and children, leave for Heathrow. Shortly afterwards, an international manhunt is in full swing. After Sharif arrives in Pakistan on the 10th of August, he makes an 8-minute call to UK police.
Take a deep breath and tell me what's happened.
I cannot. I physically punished my daughter and she died.
Your daughter.
I don't know where he gets this. I legally punished my daughter and she died. How can you be? How is hitting someone with a cricket bat legally punishing your daughter?
Daughter has died.
I killed my daughter. I killed my daughter.
How have you killed your daughter?
I beat her up. It wasn't my intention to kill her, but
I beat her up. It wasn't my intention to kill her. She's 10. She's 10 years old and he's a grown man. What? So he doesn't seem to think it's bad that he beat her up. He doesn't seem to think that's a bad thing, does he? It's just like, but I didn't mean to kill her. I meant to beat her up. Yeah, I meant to beat her up at this 10-year-old little girl and I'm a great big brute of a man. Yeah, I meant to beat her up, but I didn't mean to kill her. God. It's unbelievable, this case. Honestly, just leaves me speechless.
I beat her up too much.
Police, hello, anyone in?
Police go to the
I beat her up too much. Is there a beating up that's not too much? You know, what's the beating up that's not too much then?
family home in Woking and find Sara's body on a bunk bed. Next to her pillow was a handwritten note from her father. "Love you, Sara," it read. "I'm running away because I am scared." On August 15th, the post-mortem
Grr. Oh god, I'm just gonna have to stop saying anything because you can just get too angry, can't you? I ran away because I am scared. What a coward. So he wasn't scared when he was legally beating up his 10-year-old daughter. No, that's not scary, but now he's scared. Oh, bless him.
concludes that Sara's death was not natural, that she suffered a catalogue of horrific injuries, being battered with a cricket bat and pole, an iron to her buttocks, being restrained with masking tape, being hooded, strangled and bitten.
It's hard to put into words, actually. I don't think I've ever felt such sadness. And I think I say that on behalf of...
I'm angry with her as well. I'm sorry. You know, if she knew that she was coming into school with bruises and this, that and the other, I think she's got responsibility too. Everyone's got a responsibility towards this girl. Anyone that knew that she had bruises, something should have been done.
For all the staff and the community, I think the shock was just immense.
Early September, Sharif and Batul appear in a video sent to Sky News.
Sara's death was an incident. We are willing to cooperate with the UK authorities and fight our case in court.
After 35 days, they did just that. They landed at Gatwick, with police waiting for them.
Which one is your bag?
They were handcuffed, left the plane, and were arrested for Sara's murder, to which they had pleaded not guilty. How was Sara's death allowed to happen? Who failed and where? These are questions a child safeguarding review and inquiry will soon hope to answer.
Yeah. Everyone's got a guilt there, including that teacher, I think. So, yeah, there have been questions over missed opportunities by social services. From the moment she was born, she was known to social services. Throughout her life, there were times they could have intervened and opportunities missed. 10 years was it? So in 10 years. So that's a short time for someone to live in one way, but it's a long time for Sara to be known to social services and nobody do anything. Her name will now be added to the list of children who have died despite authorities that are supposed to protect children being warned of concerns. Leading safeguarding expert Simon Bailey tells Sky News quite clearly the system failed her because she tragically died at a very, very young age where all the indications are that it could have been averted. He blames not enough professional curiosity among social workers. Did they truly understand the significance of the harm that she was facing? And that ultimately saw the appalling injuries that she sustained, yes. Was information shared effectively? There had been previous allegations of abuse against both of Sara's parents. At birth in 2013, she was made the subject of a child protection plan, something that happens when children are deemed to be at risk. I wonder why she was deemed to be at risk. So then, Sara's father, Irfan, had been arrested over allegations made by 3 different Polish women, including Sara's mother, Olga Sharif, between 2007 2010, including domestic violence and making threats to kill, but he was never charged. Sara was born in 2013, but her parents split in an acrimonious breakup soon after, with accusations of abuse made against each other in a custody battle. And then finally in 2019, the court awarded custody to Sharif, who by then had divorced Sarah's mother and married Baynash. He probably got custody because of Baynash. You know, they were probably looking at it thinking, oh, that's a family environment. Anyway, neighbours of their small flat described hearing shockingly loud sounds of smacking, followed by gut-wrenching screams. And last year they moved into a 3-bedroom house in Hammond Road, Woking, with the uncle Faisal Malik and a total of 6 young children, where a new neighbour, Judith Lozeran, said the family was strangely quiet. She told Sky News she got the feeling Sarah was treated as a bit of a servant because she would see her doing chores, pegging out the washing and looking after the other children. That isn't really what a 10-year-old should be doing, she said. I never saw her smile. I never saw her running, laughing, or anything in the garden with the others. And then prosecutors said she started wearing a hijab to hide her injuries, and the court heard she was taken out of school in April 2023 after teachers spotted bruises on her face and referred her to social services. But the case was closed after 6 days. So that was April 2023. A couple of months later, she was dead. A school friend said she saw locks on the bedroom doors when she went around to Sarah's to play. She said Sarah told her she'd fallen off her bike when she turned up at school with cuts and bruises on her face. Now, so when these verdicts came in, like the guilty verdicts, so let's just reiterate, her father, Fanny's been found guilty of murder and not preventing the death of a child, same as Baynash. And Faisal, the uncle, has been found guilty just of preventing to stop the death of a child. So he hasn't been found guilty of murder. But there are all those guilty verdicts is a really good result. So the Old Bailey Judge Kavanagh, has adjourned sentencing until next Tuesday. So we've got to wait till next Tuesday before we get the actual sentencing. And, you know, I just want to say I've got candles lit at the moment, but I want to say a little prayer for the judge and for the jury, because that would be a traumatic case to have to sit through. It's traumatic for us to just hear what's happened to Sarah, but that judge and that jury, they'll have had to sit through photos and all sorts of things. How traumatic, so difficult, you know, to have to face that. So a little prayer for them as well, because I expect they've seen Sarah's little face a couple of times at night before in their dreams, etc. So she was hooded, tied up, beaten with a cricket bat, burnt with an iron, and even bitten in a brutal campaign of abuse in the weeks before her death. Okay, now I'm going to go back up the other way because there's some videos and photos. It says that the detectives are about to give a statement, and that's probably a little bit further up. So she was known to social services from a very young age, and the court heard from one of Sarah's teachers who said that while she was in her primary school, she was taken out of school on 2 occasions, and the most recent was the year she died, just months before police discovered her body at home. They said she had a bruise on her chin and just under her left eye. And they put it through their safeguarding system, and it was followed up by social services. But after that, it was case closed. Oh, dear me. So here's some photos. Let me just make sure you're all okay in chat. Hi, Admit. You know, hi, Seffi. There's something really wrong, isn't it? By yeah, well, I don't know about that, Seffi, but anyway, there are lots of Muslims. They don't do things like that. You know, really, if you look back into don't you think if you look back into the Old Testament, what is it? things like spare the rod, spoil the child. You know, that's in every culture when you go back in history. That doesn't mean to say that people now are doing that. I don't think. You know, I think the thing is there are twonks in every walk of life, doesn't matter what religion they are. There'll be loads of Muslims who wouldn't dream of hurting their children, and there'll be loads that will, just as there are loads of British people who hurt their children. I mean, you know, look at some of the cases. Look at Fred and Rose West. You know, look at any case. So I don't go with that it's a trait of any particular religion or person. To me, I don't go with that at all. So there she is, bless her. So she's got the hijab on there, so we can presume that it's probably where, you know, as the abuse was happening. Oh, look. Just heartbreaking to see her as well like this, because she always got a smile on her face. You know, look at that. Well, she was only 4 there, bless her. So when she was 4, I think that was before she was, where was she then? Was she in foster care? I don't know if she was in foster care then. Oh, look, 12 months old, bless her. So those are new photos that have been released. So UK must learn from Sarah's vicious abuse. Well, they always say that. How many times? Look at Baby P. And who was the other one? What was that little one? That there was the video of him saying nobody cared about him. That Arthur, his name was. You know, there you go. They weren't Muslims. You know, it's not to do with religion. It's to do with some people are just horrible. They just are, unfortunately. And these children keep getting let down time and time again. And this is what they always say, don't they? UK must learn. We must learn. We'll learn lessons. You know, there's always lessons learned until the next time. And then, you know, it's not as if, you know, the social services weren't aware of Sarah's case. So if this can even happen when the social services are aware of things that are going on, how many things are going on behind closed doors? You know, my sister-in-law, she's retired now, but she used to work for social services in Manchester. And she said that the worst case of child abuse she's ever seen were 2 doctors. 2 doctors. The parents were doctors. So, you know, it's all walks of life, it's all classes. Child abuse, unfortunately, doesn't have something that you can identify easily. So an independent child safeguarding review will be launched. Don't they have these reviews? They review things till they come out their ears, don't they? Oh yes, we're having a review, we're having an investigation. And what they mean is we're looking into it. We can't answer any questions at the moment because we're having this review. And then by the time the review finishes in a year, people have not exactly forgotten about it, but they're not concentrating on it so much, are they? So, you know, it goes, you know, things at the moment, obviously this is in the news, it's all over the news, but it won't be this time next year when the review comes out. You know, there'll be other bloody monstrosities that have happened by then. So people won't be talking about Sarah's case so much then. Nothing will be any different. I don't even know what the answer is to this, to be honest. I do feel that in a case, you just feel that in a case like this where Sarah has been known to social services since the day she was born, if she couldn't even be saved, what chance has anyone else got? So it'll be launched to evaluate how local agencies work together to help protect Sarah. Annie Hudson said the panel has been calling for safeguarding reforms for several years, and it was imperative that the UK learn from Sarah's murder. The cruel, vicious abuse that Sarah suffered is extremely harrowing. All our thoughts today or with all those who knew her. She said it was vital that there is strong and good scrutiny of local and national practice and systems designed to keep people safe. Children safe. We cannot and should not ever be complacent. And it is imperative that we learn from what happened, Sarah, as no child should ever have to suffer and die as she did. What? You reckon? Oh, my God. Oh, here's the police statement. Let's see what they've got to say.
Let's take you live to the Old Bailey now, where police statements being given following the conviction of the stepmother, father and uncle of Sara Sharif.
I'd like to extend my deepest condolences to her mother, Olga, her siblings and all those who knew and cared for her. Sara's spirit and bravery and resilience in the face of the suffering that she endured has shone through from the vast inquiries that have been undertaken in this case. Sara's young life was brought to an end, and resilience in the face of the suffering that she endured has shone through from the vast inquiries that have been undertaken in this case. Sara's young life was brought to an end as a result of the brutal abuse and unspeakable violence inflicted on her by Sharif, Batul, which Malik did nothing to prevent. This case has shocked and horrified not only those who knew and loved her, but people across the country and around the world. On the 10th of August 2023, we received a phone call from Sara's father in which he told the operator that his daughter had died as a result of his actions. From this day, Surrey Police has worked tirelessly to build a case to prove that Sharif, Batul and Malik all played their part in Sara's death. During the trial, Sharif took the stand intending to blame Sara's death entirely on his wife before changing his story to accept some responsibility while still denying murder. Batul and Malik refused to take the stand at all or provide any explanation what happened to Sara in their police interviews. All three defendants have only ever sought to preserve their own interests throughout this investigation and have shown no remorse for their truly dreadful behaviour. Sara's death has been one of the most difficult.
Yeah, I don't think they have shown any remorse either, have they? They're just remorseful that they've been caught, really. I mean, I think her dad was just like, oh my God, how dare she die? You know, he didn't mean to kill her. He was just legally beating her. You know, it's just crazy, isn't it? And I know a murder charge for Faisal would have been a stretch, if you like, because there's no evidence that he actually abused Sarah. And he's been found guilty, of course, of covering up her death. But, you know, it might have been good if they would have charged him of murder as well, found him guilty of murder as well, because really he is complicit in it. You know, he's completely complicit in all of it. He lived in that house. He saw what was happening to her. And then supposedly it's him who jet washed her. But how could you jet wash a little girl's body? I mean, do you know, there's different, you know, we talk about this a lot. It's different when you, in a fit of temper, I don't know, lash out or whatever, and something happens in it. But to you know, constant, prolonged abuse over years, and then it's what you do after it as well, you know, to jet wash your body, just what it's just speechless for me. It makes me speechless, because if, you know, I think they were talking about like it's supposed to be like what they do with bodies is wash them. Fair enough, or put her in the bath, you know, do it with respect, do it gently, nicely, or a bed bath or something, not jet wash her like she's a bloody car or a dirty rug or something. I just can't imagine how he could have done that. How could you do that? You almost wish there was a special charge for that, like desecrating a corpse or something.
Difficult and distressing cases that Surrey Police has ever dealt with. I would like to thank those who came forward to provide information and those who gave evidence in such harrowing circumstances. I would like to thank the jury for their careful consideration of the evidence which has been presented throughout the trial. The murder of a child is absolutely shocking, but the horrific nature of the abuse Sara suffered during her short life has made this case particularly disturbing. Today, justice for Sara has been served, and our thoughts remain with Sara's mother and her siblings at this extremely difficult time. Thank you very much.
What must it have been like that girl?
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Judith Reed, Crown Prosecution Service. At the heart of this trial was Sara Sharif, a happy, outgoing and lively 10-year-old girl who was cruelly abused and murdered by the two people closest to her. We have all seen Sara's smile shine out from the photos of her, but everyone involved with this case will always remember that utterly horrendous injuries and brutal treatment she received in the weeks leading up to her death. We cannot begin to imagine the suffering she went through in her own family home. Both defendants denied killing Sara. However, the appalling truth is that they, along with Faisal Malik, were all living in a small house and were all complicit in what was happening to Sara. The evidence given by some of the neighbours of the family highlighted their concerns about what was going on behind closed doors, yet none of the defendants did anything to stop or report the abuse that led to Sara's tragic death. It has been a painstaking operation by Surrey Police and the Crown Prosecution Service to build this case and be able to prove to the jury that Irfan Sharif and Bainash Batul were both responsible for Sara's murder. By showing they were there in the run-up to Sara's death, we were able to prove that both of them played their part in killing her. This case was complicated further by the fact that all three defendants fled the country to Pakistan, and our CPS International unit played a significant role in helping us to prosecute this case successfully. We have today secured justice for Sara, although the ultimate tragedy is that she was killed by the very adults who should have loved and protected her. Our thoughts today are with Sara's family and those who knew her. Thank you.
Hey. Yeah. Okay, what else have we got? So just talking about the horrendous and brutal. So we've just heard the statement from Judith Reed. Oh, God, here is that. Look, if you ever see, honestly, both of them, she's got a very cold face. There's just something about the contempt in her face. Now, it's said that she suffered abuse when she was young, wasn't she? Apparently, she was put into care because she suffered so-called honour abuse, where something from her family, I don't know. But is that an excuse then to do what she did to Sara? To me, I look at Bainash's eyes, she just looks really evil, just as evil, if not more evil than the other twonk Irfan. She's a twonkess, isn't she? Awful. So apparently Sara's stepmother replied no comment when she was asked if she loved Sara. A newly released video we may have the video further up, shows Bainash reply no comment to 7 questions from officers, including, do you love Sara? Did you care about her at all? What did you see and what happened to Sara? At the start of the video, Batul confirms her identity and responds, killing someone, when asked what her understanding was of murder. Another video shows Sara's uncle, Faisal Malik, 29, reply no comment, when asked by police who was responsible for the 10-year-old's death. That's the uncle. So this is the guy who's supposed to have had nothing to do with it. He's asked who was responsible for her death and he says no comment. Oh my God. He's literally got, I hope he gets a big sentence as well, because he's just as guilty as far as I'm concerned. So remember those letters we looked at? Sara begged for forgiveness for being rude and answering back in a letter located after she was found beaten to death at home. Sections from the 10-year-old's letters and notebook were shown at the Old Bailey during the trial, and in one undated letter she said she was sorry for being rude and ended by saying, please forgive me, I'm so, so sorry. So she's apologising. That little girl's apologising to those hateful people. And in a birthday message to her father, Irfan, she said, I love you so much. Thank you for looking after us at the weekends. Yeah. What? So she's thanking her father for doing the job that he's supposed to do. You know, that he'll have made her feel grateful just for every little nugget of niceness he gave her. You know, just disgusting, isn't it? And making food for us at the weekends. Oh my God, big old Irfan, big ups, Irfan. Big ups. You actually made food for your children at the weekend. Oh my God, you deserve a effing medal, don't you? Thank you, Dad, from Sarah. Our family is the best in town. We spread love all around the world. Do you know, this is just makes me cry because that is typical, isn't it, of someone who's been abused. They end up apologising to their abuser. That's how clever they are, how they manipulate people. So in the end, they're saying sorry, but it's not them that's done anything wrong. Oh, this poor little girl. Have we seen this one? I don't know. Whoops. So this is changing all the time. You know, there's new updates coming all the time. Let's have a look at this.
When you think about Singapore, it has become an innovation role model. A lot of multinational companies that have grown up here are a wonderful set of partners for companies coming in who then want to grow in the rest of Southeast Asia.
Well, this trial itself, it's been long, it's been complex, and now we have some answers. In the past hour, the jury, after a day and a half or so of deliberations, came back with their verdicts. They found Sara's father, Irfan Sharif, guilty of her murder, her stepmom, Binish Batul, also guilty of murder, and Sara's uncle, Faisal Malik, was found guilty of causing or allowing her death. As the verdicts were being read out, we could hear Batul crying in court. Now, this, just moments ago, Surrey police...
Oh, so she was crying. The stepmother was crying in court because she knows she's going down for a long time. And yeah, people who abuse their children aren't thought of very well in prison, are they? But that's the first. So she's cried. Did she cry when Sarah was being hit by a cricket bat or beaten, burnt with an iron or bitten, you know, on her thighs or whatever? Wonder if she cried then. And then she's crying in court because she's crying for herself, not for Sarah.
As we saw, were on the steps of the Old Bailey, described the treatment that Sara faced by those that should have cared for her as brutal abuse and unspeakable violence, is what they called it, at the hands of Sharif and Batul, Sara's dad and stepmom. They said that Sara's uncle was aware of the abuse yet failed to stop it. They also said, Surrey police, that all three defendants during the trial have showed no remorse. We also heard from the Crown Prosecution Service, who said that justice has been served and that Sara Sharif was failed by the very adults that should have loved and protected her.
Yeah, okay. Let's see what else we've got going down here. So Sarah's mother has spoken, Olga. Sarah's mother, Olga, has paid tribute to her beautiful and angelic daughter. I might just cry. I think I'm doing quite well. I haven't blubbed yet properly. My dear Sarah, I ask God to please take care of my little girl. She was taken too soon. Sarah had beautiful brown eyes and an angelic voice. Sarah's smile could brighten up the darkest room. Everyone who knew Sarah will know her unique character, her beautiful smile and loud laugh. She will always be in our hearts. Her laughter will bring warmth to our lives. We miss Sarah very much. Love you, Princess. So Sarah's death, this is only 29 minutes ago, it's been updated this all the time. Sarah's death was one of the most difficult and distressing cases Surrey police has ever dealt with. I can imagine it again for the police as well. I think about those police that went into that house, you know, and we can be critical of the police, but sometimes imagine going into a house not really knowing what you were going to find and finding a little girl dead upstairs, you know, just horrible. These are things they have to cope with. They have to go home after that, maybe tuck their own children into bed, you know, or, you know, because they, as much as, you know, police get criticism, they are human beings, they're not robots, and it's difficult. It's not an easy job. It's not an easy job. So Detective Chief Superintendent Mark Chapman said, this case has shocked and horrified not only those who knew Sara Sharif, but people across the country. And he said it was one of the most difficult and distressing cases that Surrey police has ever dealt with. He said Sara was a bright and lively little girl who loved singing and dancing. Her young life was brought to an end as a result of the brutal abuse inflicted on her by her father and stepmother, which her uncle did nothing to prevent. So everyone let Sara down, didn't they? But not only in that household. This case has shocked, and even Bainash's sister, because they were sending texts. There were texts going, you know, the sister knew about it. This case has shocked and horrified not only those who knew and loved her, but people across the country and around the world. He said that the police had worked tirelessly to build a case to prove that Irfan Sharif, his partner Bainash, and Irfan's brother Faisal had played their part in Sara's death. They built a good case, you know, at the end of the day. These sort of things, it was a difficult case to prosecute because I think their tactics, or certainly Irfan and Bainash's tactics, were to blame each other, weren't they? You know, they all had a separate defence counsel. So all of them were blaming the others. You know, Irfan at first he was blaming Bainash, then he did take responsibility, but he said he didn't take responsibility for that last time of killing her, you know, and he muddied the water. Bainash blamed him for everything. Faisal blamed both of them, neither he or Bainash actually spoke on the stand. It was only Irfan who got up and spoke. So I think that was their tactic, wasn't it? Make it so confusing that the jury wouldn't know what to think, which you could imagine that it could have felt like that. You know, God, who did it? Because ultimately what it comes down to is, who do they think actually is responsible for her death? And so I think they've done really well to find the two of them responsible, and at least Faisal responsible for the not preventing the death of a child. I think they would have been struggling to find Faisal responsible for actual murder, though really he is, in my eyes anyway. Okay, so I think that's more or less. Let me see if there's anything else. I'd like to see some of the other videos, because things will come out now that were shown in court that we couldn't see, because we've seen some videos as the trial's gone on, but there should be more videos coming out now. Let's see. But anyway, if I can't... oh, this is when she arrived at the magistrate's court. Let's just have a look at this. This was her arriving at the court. Are we going to get to actually see it? Oh, I thought we were going to actually see her, not just the great big van bringing her in. Are we going to see her come out? No. No, it's just the van going in. Yeah. She just looks evil to me, that woman. I've said it right from the beginning. She's got the most evil eyes. It's always in the eyes, isn't it, really? I think. Let's see. Sorry. If I put in verdicts, it might come up. Something. Let's have a look at just have a look at some of the other news things. It's not happening. That's Sky News, that's what we've watched. Let's have a look at.
सारा शरीफ कत्ल केस का फैसला आ गया है। मकतूल सारा का बाप और इरफान शरीफ और सौतेली मां बीनिश.
Oh, so this is the Pakistan news, but unfortunately it is in it's not in English. Sometimes they come up in English, but it's always interesting to get another perspective on things if we can, but I can't. Let's see. Okay, that's all I can find for now. Anyway, if there's any other videos come out or whatever, and of course when the verdict comes, the sentencing comes out next week, I'll definitely be covering that. So I will be back later with part 2 of Ayub's story, if you like. When I had to interrupt it halfway through. Yesterday we were listening to Ayub sort of giving his version of what happened in the Jay Slater case. We'll be looking at part 2 later on tonight. I've just got a couple of classes in between, otherwise I'd just go straight into it now. And hopefully you'll be able to join me then. And I'll see you later. And as always, till then, may your God go with you. Thank you so much for caring about Sarah. And I'll see you really soon. Bye.